Everyone to tea time. It's my favorite tea time. It is 2 o'clock Eastern time. My good friends Dave Cokin and Nick Borrman are here with me. We are going to go over the 3M Open, the star-studded field, the 3M Open. And we're also going to recap last week's tournament, as there was an absolute lot. The final score didn't indicate how exciting and fun, I guess you could say, the tournament was. We had a lot of fun side stories. Nick, I'll start with you. Biggest takeaway, was it Rahm or was it anything else that you saw?
I think it was just, when it was, what was cool to me is how quickly they can make a golf course so much more difficult than it was the week prior. Now, granted, this was even more unique in the fact that they were tearing up the green. They were basically treating this course as if they knew they were going to let this thing die right after the tournament, because they were going to redo the greens. They were going to, strip the sod, which they showed. I'm sure you guys saw that on Sunday. They flipped to the front nine after the guys were off, and they were literally stripping the sod off the putting greens. But it was really cool to see how quickly they made that golf course difficult. And, there was only, I think, 9 guys is what ended up being under par by the time it was all said and done. And it really changes the game as far as who can survive that kind of a threshold. And we saw big names that obviously didn't make the cut, struggle all over the place. I think it was a good test for them. They got beat up. A lot of them are taking this week off, and then they got 2 tough events coming up, WGC and, of course, the PGA in a couple of weeks. So I think it was a good tune-up for these guys to come back to reality of shooting 20 under par and rethinking how to play these harder golf courses.
Dave, what were some of your takeaways from last week's tournament?
Well, I went in like a lion and out came out like a lamb, personally, which is not the way you want to go. I had Gary Woodland as one of my outrights, and he looked absolutely great on Thursday, not bad on Friday, and then just had a terrible round on Saturday, and that was the end for him. And Patrick Cantley was an outright, and I really thought heading to the back 9 on Saturday, I've got a real shot to win this. Yep. Cantley, he'd survived 2 double bogeys on Friday when he had problems in fairway traps, which is an old nemesis of his that came back to bite him. And then he hit a shot, and it's like, okay, I don't need to watch the rest of this tournament. I did anyway, but I think it was 15, I think. Hits a perfect drive, and he's, I don't know, maybe 110, 120, little wedge, simple wedge shot. And it's like, okay, he's got -7. He's got a chance to go 8 under here, and he'll be 1 stroke off the lead. And he plunks it in the water and hit and double bogey. And it's like, okay, well, the tournament's over for me. And it was. They both were terrible the rest of the way. I thought the right guy won. I mean, look, and I missed it. It's as simple as that. You're not going to get many opportunities to get Rahm at 25 to 1 neighborhood, and he was spectacular, and he won by 5 strokes. It's officially 3 because of that ridiculous penalty.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
That is such a bad call by the PGA, and I know they wouldn't have called it if it had made a difference in the tournament. He got assessed a 2-stroke penalty because his ball moved, I don't know, what, 1/8 of an inch in the rough. The only way they could see it move was with the high-def camera doing a virtual close-up. That's not how the rule's designed. It's supposed to be for what are clear infractions. There was no clear infraction. He had no idea the ball had even moved. And again, it moved like 2 dimples at most. Awful call. Because I can guarantee you, with 100% certainty, with as many shots as were hit out of the very difficult rough over those 4 days, that happened more than once, okay? It probably happened about 50 times. And to me, it's like, well, it's not going to make a difference in the tournament, so we'll assess in the 2 strokes. I think that's a really bad precedent, because now you're going to have to do this all the time. And if you don't, you're going to get called out on it. It was just a bullshit call all the way.
Well, I know one person that does not have to worry about being called for that is Jordan Spieth. No way they will give him a penalty on that. He's in the free and clear. Nick, you play golf, correct? You're a pretty good golf. Okay.
Yes.
I have a question for you. When you're 80 yards out, do you which club would you like to pick? Is it A, sand wedge, put about 10 yards past the cup and spin it back, snug up against the cup? Is it B, pitching wedge, maybe land it just below the green, get it to trickle up near the flag? Or is it C, putter?
Phil's beautiful.
Listen, yeah, I don't know if you can question the short game wizard that is Phil, right, with that kind of a question, but I can count. No, I can't. I've never used a putter. Did I break my wedge? No, I'm pretty sure I never used a putter from 80 yards out.
My favorite was his quote after when he said, "It didn't go like I had it pictured in my mind."
Yeah, that went differently in my mind.
If Phil had been contending, he wouldn't have done that.
Correct.
It's like, it's not, let's give this a try and see what happens. Because Phil experiments about as much as anybody. And what better time to do it? You're not in contention for the tournament. Doesn't mean anything. He doesn't. It's not like he's playing for the extra dollars that he might get if he finishes two places higher. I think Phil's set financially. So he decided to try something new, and it didn't work. Okay, I'll bet you try something again next week.
Absolutely.
Phil, he's more fun to watch than anybody.
Since we got a weak field, let's just play a quick game. Who had the whole of the tournament? Is it Phil putting from 80 yards? Is it Bubba bouncing one over picnic tables, a white fence, a green tent, trees, a tan storage container, and a white propane tank when he hit the cart path? Is it Paul Casey who took the 8 on the par 3 after putting it in the bunker, flying the green and the water, putting it in the water twice? Or is it Bryson's epic 10? Nick, I'm assuming you're giving it to Bryson.
I have to say it's Bryson only because all of the haters absolutely loved that. It was all over Twitter. Everybody's, screw Bryson. He can't overpower a course like this. So they were just thrilled to see that. The other ones didn't get a ton of attention because they weren't the big names or necessarily in contention. I saw them all, but the Bryson one probabably takes the cake in that regard.
That was Tin Cup Part 2.
It was.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that was fun to watch. The funny thing is, he goes 5 over on that hole. But the other holes he played, he was 1 under. So, the guy can play. I mean, he's just amazing. And I'm going to have to take a look at him next week, obviously, although his price will probably preclude me from playing him. But he's an amazing player. But that course and him are not made for each other. Because he's insistent on going full bore when and that was clearly a time where he should have just, hit the ball back to the fairway and take a bogey. And he refused to do it and took himself out of the tournament.
Dave, let's expand on that a little bit more because we've got some big tournaments coming up. We got the majors, we got the FedEx Cup playoffs. So we've seen Bryson enough now. Are we learning that there are some courses that his strategy just isn't going to work on and that there are courses that he's going to be able to dominate? And how can we as bettors kind of learn from that and kind of look at a course and say, I don't know about this course set up for him? Did you learn anything from watching him this week with this long rough?
It's what I suspected. I had no interest in DeChambeau last week because I thought this is one course you can't outdrive if you have an errant shot off the tee because the rough is going to be really nasty. I think in the courses where the rough is playable, he's going to be really good because he's going to outdrive the obstacles, and he's going to be scary in those tournaments. And I do think as we had golf courses that were tigerized years ago. Yep. We might have him Brysonized because this guy can hit the ball 400 yards pretty much whenever he wants. And even if you're a little bit off on 400 yards, if the rough isn't too hazardous, you're still going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And notice that he melted down like he usually does. But Finau is another guy who now is going this let's bomb away route, and it worked pretty well for him for 3 rounds. I mean, he turned into Tony Finau again on Sunday, which is just a mental thing with him, evidently. But I think you're going to see more players doing this.
Nick, we got thoughts on Bryson. We got to talk about Brooks. MRI comes out. His knee is not healthy, and he hasn't looked healthy the last couple of weeks. I thought he looked great coming back off the break. He had a couple really good finishes. MRI says no. He's going to play this week. This is 3 weeks in a row. Does this knee concern you with Brooks? Because it sure does with me.
Yes. I wanted to make one point with Bryson and the bombers on the courses is if you have a soft course, that's where his advantage is going to come in. Because when it's firm and fast, other guys, his distance advantage is gone because other guys are going to get the rollout to where he would be, and he might get the rollout through the fairway and into more trouble. So it's going to be soft courses where he's going to keep that advantage.
Absolutely, great point.
But Brooks, yes, absolutely. I mean, he said it himself. He said his knee is still bothering him and doesn't seem to be getting better. So I think he'd be foolish not to listen to what the guy's saying, unless he's just trying to lower his own odds to maybe take himself, in the betting market next week. But he didn't. 2 weeks in a row, I guess, we've kind of talked about him, and we thought after he had that one good event a few weeks back, and we thought, all right, maybe there's something coming here. And he really hasn't been able to get anything going, and he hasn't put anything together. He finished near the bottom. He did make the cut, but he finished near the bottom. And I don't know. I don't see it. He's not a guy. He's 14-1. I mean, I don't know how you take him when he's not feeling well. He's not showing anything. I think he's a true fade this week as far as outrights go.
I would agree with that. And what's really the difficult part for him is that he's more of a left to right player. And because of the knee issue, he's having a lot of holes where he's just flat out hooking the ball.
Yeah.
So it's really messing with his swing. And I think that's part of the reason he's out there again this week. I don't think this is, I mean, I'm sure he'd like to win, but I think this is more a case of he needs to get reps in and try and play through this, because it's apparently not going to go away anytime soon. So he's got to try and solve it on the golf course so that he can keep himself in play for the big tournaments that are coming up.
Yeah, let's see. DJ.
Oh
DJ.
My goodness! You think he's going to be? I didn't play him. He's the favorite this week. I didn't play him, but you think the guy might be a little bit motivated after that performance? 80 for Dustin Johnson. Oh my goodness!
I think DJ's at the point in his career where if he has a bad round one, or if he just feels like the course is just not suited, he just gives up. I mean, you started watching him in round two, and it was like, this guy's checked out. Like, he has already moved on to the next tournament. I don't know. That's my opinion. That's what the that's what the body language said to me.
That makes him scary here. I mean, I'm not playing at whatever 10-1 or thereabouts, but I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about him this week, because I think he's going to handle this course, and if there aren't a lot of guys who know how to win tournaments in this event, and he does. So if he's in that leaderboard mix on Sunday, I'm going to be sweating, because I am not on Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, we all like the bounce back guys after missed cuts, right? I know we all talk about that angle, but you're right, Dave. At the price, 10-1, 12-1, maybe he's not bettable as far as the outright market goes. So I think he bounces back. I think he probably has a good week. There's something to be said for, like you said, with his body language and him checking out early, Andy, is that it's a lot easier to move on to the next event when you do that versus grinding out every shot to miss a cut by one. So maybe there's less energy spent, and he's already ready to come back and rebound this week. But I'm not
big advantage. Everyone's arrived to the course Monday or Tuesday. DJ apparently arrived there Friday. Just one quick guy. I work hard crunching these numbers. You guys do too, and sometimes we just overthink it. I just don't know why I'm not retired by betting against Ricky Fowler in the head-to-head matchups every week. I swear if you just do that, that's it. Just bet against Ricky Fowler. You're going to be ahead, and you're going to be ahead by a lot. He was again awful on Thursday. What do you do with someone like Fowler? Is his window passed? Is this guy even going to be in contention?
No. I don't think his window's passed, because he's still a pretty young guy. But want to go with right now? I've got to wait for him to have a top 5 out there, and then it's like, okay, maybe we'll take a look at him. And he's not a guy you bet to win.
No,
because he just doesn't win. He's kind of like Paul Casey's another guy. Casey would be the European version of Fowler. He's not a guy you want to be on Sundays. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we actually, my buddies and I call Paul Casey the friend zone, because he can never close. There's
a few guys like that. I mean, we mentioned Finau. Finau is a top 20 player, and top 20 players are supposed to win some tournaments. He's got one win. He just and it's in his head. I mean, he was so bad on Sunday, so bad. He was as bad as anybody on the course. He had a couple of birdies on, I think, 10 and 11. It's like, well, maybe he'll get out of here respectably, and then he melted down again. And it's just some guys just can't seal the deal mentally. I don't know why.
Yeah. Nick, let's start to turn our attention to the 3M this week. We've only played it once. Pretty hard to take a lot away from 1 year, but Matthew Wolff played pretty good last week, 22nd, and he won this tournament. Not a strong field at all. So let's turn our attention. Who are some guys that you started your research with this week that you were interested in crunching some numbers?
What a strong field, and honestly, this is probably the toughest tournament since the restart for sure, as far as picking outrights go. At least for me, anyway. I looked at so many guys, and there were numbers like I was just looking at results. Recent results: miscut, tied for 54th, miscut. I'm like, okay, well, I can't get behind that, guys. And then just went down the list, and there wasn't a lot of consistency, which we all like to bet on. Guys that are playing well and rolling into this tournament. So it's tough. The favorites are way too short of where you would normally see them in any sort of a decent field. So it's hard to get behind any of them. And then it quickly gets to 60-1 and over. And there's so many people at over 100-1. It's like, honestly, I'm shooting a needle in a haystack. I'm going to be paying a lot of my attention this week to the head-to-head matchups. I think that's probably where my money is going to be going this week. There certainly are guys I will dabble with in the leaderboard. I'll probably have fewer. Lucas Glover is the one guy in the top group that he's just been in the consistent one. He's 5 for 5. He's got 4 top 25 finishes. He did shoot a course record here, 62 last year, finished tied for 7. So he is probably the one of the few favorites that I'd be at least thinking he should have a good week again. But other than that, in the top guys, I really wasn't looking at anyone.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I usually, what I do is I game plan each tournament, and I come up with a philosophy, and I kind of stick with it. So one of the things I took out of the Memorial was I made a decision that based on, this was a really tough 4 rounds of golf. It was arduous. It was hot. The conditions were very difficult. It was really tough to play 4 rounds. I decided to leave off, and I'm looking at outrights here, to leave off anybody who played 4 rounds. So Koepka's out, Finau's out, Wolff is out, English is out, Glover's out, Bubba, Van Rooyen, who's going to be a very popular, Van Rooyen's going to be the sexy pick this week. But I think the guys who played 4 rounds, particularly those who were somewhere on the leaderboard, so even Luke List and Henrik Norlander, I think they're going to have a difficult time. I think I would want somebody fresher. So I looked at guys who missed the cut last week but had been in prior good form, because last week's tournament was really difficult. And if you were out of there after Friday, no big deal. I don't think that's a form killer for a lot of guys. And also looked at guys who I just think offered value at big prices. The mystery guy to me, and I think the mystery guy in this tournament, is Tommy Fleetwood. What do we have to go on
Jesus.
Here? He hasn't played in
Jesus.
Hasn't played in forever. Is he going to be rusty or is he going to be sharp? And Fleetwood is the price got me away from him because I think he's the 4th pick overall, 3rd or 4th choice. So I decided not to play him. But I don't know if what the factor is going to be with him not having played in this length of time.
My opinion, I kind of look at it like UFC. Ring rust is a real thing. When you're betting UFC, I really like to bet on guys that are active and are fighting. Same with golf. I don't like this huge break from Fleetwood. I don't know why he hasn't played, but I'm going to get nowhere near Tommy Fleetwood. Nick, we got a question in YouTube. Your thought on Harris English this week?
Yes, he's been solid all year. This goes against Dave, playing the 4 rounds and playing decently last week. But, yeah, he's been solid all year, 12 to 14 cuts made, 9 top 25 finishes, 5 top 10s. He was tied for 13th last week at Memorial. So I do think there's something to be said for what Dave is saying, because I agree. Guys that grinded through that event. Listen, we talked about it already. I play a lot of golf, and there are times if I play a couple days in a row, and I've played in events, and if you're grinding and you're going through mentally, golf is, they always say it's the game right here, right between the ears. So if you're going that hard mentally, it's hard to come back from. So that's probably the only negative on Harris English this week, but he's got a lot of good numbers this year. He's been solid since the restart, and he's number 10 on tour this year in total shots gained, number 13 in shots gained tee to green. A lot of good to like on him. He's 35 to 1, not a bad price. I think he's worthy of something this week. I was looking at the top 20 market at plus 175. So I do like Harris of the guys in the mid-range this week. I think he's worth something.
Let's see, a couple other guys. Dave, you mentioned Eric Van Rooyen. I watched Eric Van Rooyen in person on one of his good tournaments. He likes to go every other tournament. It's good Van Rooyen, bad Van Rooyen, good Van Rooyen, bad Van Rooyen. And when I watched him, he was great. And then you get a 22nd at a tough course last week, but before that miscut, and then before that 21st, and then before that miscut. So you mentioned he's going to be a sexy pick. You're a sexy guy. Are you going to be on Van Rooyen this week?
No. I again, it goes to what I was just talking about. I don't want guys who played 4 rounds this past week.
Okay.
I think it's going to be difficult for him. So, and the price is really beat up on him. I mean, I'm sorry, but he's a nice player. But what was he sitting 30, 35 to 1?
It's
That's
ridiculous.
just not good enough. I mean, anything south of 50 to 1, or is it north? I don't have my compass, but he should. If you're taking less than 50 to 1, I mean, you still get a lot of money if he wins, but you're getting the worst of it on the price.
Yeah, I'll throw out a guy I like. I've liked him for a long time. We call him Henrik the Highlander, Norlander. 6th place finish last week. It was great. He did not play this tournament. I did laugh. I think he was 6,500 or 6,300 in DraftKings last week. He was a steal. Unfortunately, I had Daniel Berger in my lineup, and he torpedoed it. He jumps from 6,500 in DraftKings to 8,600, which should tell you a little bit about this. But that's a guy I'm gonna be on. I followed him. I don't know that much about him. Nick, do you know much about Henrik Norlander? Do you know much about his game?
No, he's relatively an unknown. I mean, all the noise that has just really been since its restart. So everything that you know, that's the same I know. I don't know a lot about his history. I know he played well, obviously, last week, and for that reason, Dave threw him in the trash. But I don't know a lot about him. I don't know a lot about a game. I hear he's a decent ball striker. I don't even see a lot of numbers behind his game right now. So he's a guy that you'd just be going, well, he played well last week. Maybe he can play well again if you're going to be looking at him. But I don't have much on him.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say he's Swedish, so he might have a lot of fans in Minnesota.
Great point. Home course advantage for Norlander. No, and it's one of those things where it's really hard to follow some of these guys because you're not going to see too many shots of Henrik Norlander. You're not going to see too many shots.
But we got to see him. Got to see him a lot this weekend.
It was great.
Yeah, he's a big
it was
dude.
great watching him.
And
to put a face with the
crank
name that I've been following.
Yeah. No, he looks like a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, and look, he's had 4 pretty good tournaments in a row. A 41st, a 12th, a 20, a 31st, and then a top 10 at the Nicklaus event. And I mean, he's going to be confident. I just think he might be a little bit. I think it's a letdown spot, especially for a younger player who isn't used to this contending game. So I just don't think it's his week. But it's just one of those weeks where there's a lot of guys who, if they play well, you're not going to be surprised. I mean, certainly, I know Doc Redmond missed the cut last week, but Redmond's a guy that I checked off immediately as a possibility. He'd had 3 really good tournaments in a row prior to that. I don't mind the fact that he got Saturday and Sunday off, and I think he's going to play well here, even though he missed the cut at this event last year. I think Redmond's going to be a guy who's on the leaderboard, and he's been coming out fast in tournaments, so watch him on Thursday if you're looking. I'm not a first-round bettor, but if you're looking in that direction, he might be a guy to take a shot on in the first round.
One guy I liked, he did not play last week, so I think that fits Dave's criteria. But he's 17th the week before, and gosh, he's looked good the last 3 times he's played. Sam Burns, a good young player, and he finished 7th here last year. So I'm going to be on the Sam Burns wagon, especially in a watered-down field. I was pretty impressed with the way he drove the ball, had good distance off the tee. And Nick, do you know much about this course up in Minneapolis? We've only had 1 year to see it. I've looked it up myself. I've never been there. I don't know a ton about it. But, Nick, what do you know about this course?
There isn't a lot. I mean, like you said, the guys haven't played there more than last year. It's a newer course. There's just not a lot of information about it. I don't think there's a lot of angles as far as us betting going to get behind. So yeah, I don't have much on the course, and I'm not even really looking at the course. I hate to say that, but I'm not really looking at the course, or especially course history, because there's only one event, as kind of even my information that is dictating what I'm doing this week. So no, I don't have much on that one, Andy.
There are three drivable par fours on this course, so I think you are going to have some fun this weekend with some of the bigger hitters going for the green on those holes, and that can really decide a lot because they can often take themselves right out of the tournament if they hit it badly. Burns is interesting, and I can tell you that one of my friends who is a very sharp bettor has Burns on his list of go-with guys this week.
Yeah, Nick, so you touch on that when you're dealing with a course that we've only seen once. So when you go into it, what are you looking for handicapping? Are you going to take last year's results into account at all, or do you just throw those away?
I'll always look at last year's results, more or less, just to see, like, did the guy play there before? Are they familiar with the place at all? That might help a little bit. Now, it doesn't even have to mean that he played well. I mean, they could have just showed up, played 2 days. But at least he was there on property. He was familiar with the place a little bit. But mostly, I would say normally I'm like 75-25 with current form versus the golf course history. Now I'm more like maybe 90-10. So it's there, but it's very minimal to me.
As far as course form goes, even if it's a course they've played on regularly over the years, I want to see what form they were in when they arrived at the course, and then measure it against the form that they're in now. So I'll give you an example. Russell Henley missed the cut here last year. Russell Henley was playing awful golf at that time. He has since gotten things in much better form. I mean, and he's coming off a good performance 2 weeks ago at Muirfield. He didn't play in the Memorial. So, I mean, Russell Henley, to me, the fact he missed the cut last year at this course means nothing, because he was a different golfer last year than he is now. I mean, Russell Henley, I think he's a guy who's got a chance this week.
Let's see. Let's go. A couple things on YouTube here. The Pit fan loves Bernd Weisberger this week. I do not. I watched him a little bit, and he was absolutely awful. Again, it was his first tournament back from the break, the golf rust. He's going to tee it up. Pit fan, I'm not with you on burn. I am not feeling the burned right now. Nick, are there guys playing this week that you're looking at just absolute fade material right now?
Honestly, the really only fade was Koepka, just because of how his injuries hurting him. Like I said before, I'm looking mostly at matchups this week. One I like that Dave kind of mentioned already was Doc Redman. He's Brendan Todd. And it goes, this is, again, agreeing with Dave's kind of general statement of anyone, making the cut last week and playing through that grind. Todd finished tied for 22nd. Redmond did not play. Redmond was playing very well coming in on the easier courses, and this is, again, an easier course, so I like the fact that he's fresh here.
Well, he did play. He missed the cut, though.
This week.
He didn't play 2 weeks ago. He did play it at the Memorial, but he only played 2 rounds.
Okay. Yeah, but I like fresh. I like him in this situation just because he was doing very well on the easier courses, and I think Todd grinding through those 4 rounds is probably something that's going to keep him at least on a slow start. He may end up getting there 4 days, but Thursday, Friday, I think the guys will start slow this week if they played a lot last week.
Here's a great little piece of bar trivia. People forget Brendan Todd won a couple tournaments in the he's top 10 in FedEx Cup points.
and he made a run at one of the tournaments since they came back.
Yes, he did.
Made a big run.
Yeah.
No, he's a solid. If he's putting, and the guy hits fairways like it's he's just terrific. He's not long off the tee, but he doesn't miss fairways. And if he's putting, he could be dangerous. And he knows how to close.
Yeah,
got to give him that.
Yeah, Lanto Griffin is 10th. Good Lord. What a golf season. Rounding out your top 10 in FedEx, Brendan Todd and Lanto Griffin. A guy I'm going to be fading, Bubba, entertaining to watch, but, man, he's been bad. He had a 32nd last week. I'm actually not quite sure how he pulled that off, but a bunch of missed cuts before that. There was a matchup. Yeah, go ahead.
Is Wyndham Clark going to be in a fade if he's in? I haven't even looked, but if he's in a matchup, I mean, this guy's he's a good player, but he is in really bad form.
Yeah, he's got to withdraw and a bunch of missed cuts. You're right, bad form since the restart for sure.
And he's never, he's always inside 100 to 1. So that might be a guy you can take a look at if the price is right. If he's in a matchup, again, I haven't looked at the matchup, so you might have to search around to see a Wyndham Clark matchup someplace.
I did.
If you want, Brian Harmon.
Yeah.
Brian Harmon's short game isn't working. He's got no chance.
Yeah,
and his short game is not working right now.
Wyndham Clark is up against Richie Wierenski.
Richie Rich.
And Rich is minus 140.
Oh.
Wyndham Clark's plus 120. So there's your line. That's on according to Pinnacle.
I don't know if I want to lay 140.
Yeah.
But Wierenski's. I think actually, you know what? That may not be a bad play.
It's tough to go home and explain to somebody that you laid minus 140 on Richie Wierenski, but this is the 3M Open, so this is the world we're living at. A guy,
I've made cuts in a row.
Yep.
I mean, it's the completely opposite form of Wyndham Clark. I can justify him at minus 140 here.
I think you could too. There was a matchup where I was really hoping to get a matchup against Russell Knox, who's just been atrocious, and then they put him up against Grillo. I mean, talk about just two horrible golfers right now. Russell Knox hasn't made a cut since, I don't know, the last solstice. And but Grillo has made a couple cuts, but even then Grillo's been worse. So I was hoping to get a good one against Knox. I just didn't get it. So I
must do a mea culpa. I think it was the first tournament back. I actually bet Russell Knox to win.
we've all done it.
It was like 18. I think he was like 18 over on the front nine. I don't think that one's going to get there.
Yeah, some of us were on Rose the other week when.
Yeah, that was me.
So, all right, let's get to a couple specific guys. Luke List, he got the win on the Corn Ferry Tour, and he's played every tournament since. He's a bomber. He can really hit the ball, and he played great last week.
He did.
He missed the cut the week before, which is really strange that he missed the cut when it was easier and then had a top 10 when it was harder. I feel like this course could set up pretty good for List because you're not going to get as punished by the rough at this. The fairways are a lot more open. Luke List, is he going to be on anyone's radar, Nick?
He's well. Sorry, I jumped in.
Go ahead, Dave.
I didn't play him, but he's one of the guys. It's like because this course might set up well for him. I know he missed the cut here last year, but 3 drivable par 4s. Those guys who can hit it 370 on a regular basis, and List is one of them. I mean, he can really crank it. He could do well here. I think he's a top 20. I'd actually expect him to be in the top 20.
Yeah, Nick, thoughts on Luke List?
I don't have anything going with him. He's. I mean, this year 18 starts, 9 cuts made, 9 cuts missed. The consistency isn't there. He's 40 to 1. He's like in the top 15 or so on the betting favorites for outright. So I think the price is kind of. I mean, it's a very shallow field, right? So I guess you have to make somebody the betting favorite, but I have a hard time putting 40 or expecting to win 40 to 1 on Luke List. So I don't have him playing. I actually haven't seen if he's in a matchup. That might be something I'll look at later tonight when I get my matchups up. So I haven't seen who he's against in a matchup, but I'm not going to be playing on the outright market by any means.
This is something this just popped in my head because I was looking at this guy. All of my golfing betting friends, we all have our kryptonite. It's the guys that no matter if we bet on him or against him, we're going to lose. And one of mine is playing this week. This is Rafa Cabrera Bello. You could get rich if you just bet the opposite way. When I get involved with a bet on him, he's terrible. When I bet against him, he's top 5. Do you guys have any of these guys that over the years you just said, I can't get involved in a bet? I have the worst luck with this guy. I know one of my best friends, Patrick Reed, is his kryptonite. Louis Oosthuizen is a kryptonite. Nick, do you have any of these guys?
It's Reed. It's exact same. And then Fowler, who you already mentioned before. Every time I go against Fowler, the week he shows up and finishes top 10, I'm like, what is going on? Because if you look at his numbers, he's either a miscut or a top 20. I think I saw something where almost every start this year except for one, that was before the workday. So the workday he finished tied for 22nd. But before the workday, every start this year was either a miscut or a top 20 except for one event. That's incredible. So he's either feast or famine, and I always pick the wrong week on that guy.
No, I tell you mine, and he is definitely my albatross around my neck. And albatross is a good thing in golf, but not when it comes to betting. And he was at it again this weekend. Ryan Palmer.
Yeah.
Right. I can never get this guy right. I played on Palmer, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Just awful. Misses the cut. Actually considered him 2 weeks ago, and he shoots 16 over in 2 rounds and leaves. So naturally, it's like, well, he's not going to do anything in this tournament. And he almost won the damn thing. He had a great tournament and finished second. I'm never right on Ryan Palmer, and I've decided to never bet on Ryan Palmer again.
So
ever. Not on him, not against him. I'm just going to leave him alone and move on to somebody else.
Every golf bettor that I know has this list of guys, and it's so great. Yep. So everyone out there, the best in the world have the same problem. It's not just you. I'm telling you, it's not just you. And I'm looking at the results. Nick, you are absolutely correct. Waste management, he finished 37th. Other than that, everything top 22 or missed cut. So good.
It's unbelievable. Guarantee the opposite of what I pick every week is where he's at.
It's so good. It is funny. I mean, normally in the show notes we put down any long shots, and it's like, well, this whole field's a long shot. So one more guy that I'm hoping to get a juicy matchup on, Jason Kokrak. I followed him when I was at the U.S. Open last year, and he was awesome to the fans. Big guy, great game. He played great. We won some money on him. He's been really bad. He had a third-place finish, then followed that up with 3 missed cuts in a row and a withdrawal. I cannot find any injury news on him, Nick. Maybe long shot. Have you heard anything about Kokrak? If not, I can't find it.
See in the field?
Yeah,
I can't find
he's way down there at 110 to 1. But 3 missed cuts and a withdrawal in a row is not like him. There's got to be something going on. I don't know if you've heard anything.
I haven't heard anything as far as like that kind of news goes, but you're right. He has been disappointing because the first event or the first 2 events, I was definitely on him. I forget exactly how I took him, if it was a match for something else, because he was playing very, very well earlier this year, and then since the restart, he hasn't done anything. He's up against Fratelli, who we saw that on Sunday. Fist bumping Jack in the room this week. He's up against Fratelli, and he's favored -115 to even money for Fratelli. So I don't know what that's saying, but that's his head-to-head matchup this week. But I don't know any information on him, but disappointing to say the least in his results because he was playing well.
I don't have that matchup on my card as of yet, but boy, I might. I really might.
I'm not seeing him on my list, but obviously I'm missing something.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Maybe he's withdrawn. I mean, somebody on YouTube said DraftKings is listing that Brendan Todd is just withdrawn.
Okay. I don't. And interestingly enough,
I was fading him.
Todd is not on my list either. I was looking around for him, and I didn't have him on my list. So,
maybe him.
I don't know what to tell you on Kokrak. It's probably an error on my part, but I don't have him on because I make a price on like 60 guys, and I didn't make one on him, and I usually would make a price on him.
All right. I think we've covered all of our YouTube questions. Good stuff, guys. We got about 5 more minutes left. There's no other better time to ask questions. I mean, you can. This is the only time you're going to be able to get live questions into some of the best in the business. So, Charles, how? Any idea what's happened to this guy's game? This guy at one point was just one of the best. I mean, he was a top 10 machine, and he's just really been bad. Is age catching up to him, Nick? Is his game just off? I mean, just a slew of finishes, missed cuts, and outside the top 50. He's one of those guys that I used to play in fantasy golf all the time. Haven't used him in a long, long time.
He's 41 now, so yeah, I think you're onto something there with his age. He was a guy that's like ebb and flow for sure, and he was a Hawaii guy, right? He always played well during that winter season.
Yes.
He'd always go well in Hawaii. The couple events they played there, so that was the time I would always look to take him. And then outside of that, once we got past that stretch, you never really heard from him much again. That was like kind of consistent the last several years. So this year, it really hasn't made a lot of noise. He did have a few good starts again during that time frame, but since then and over the last, well, I guess I would say 6 months, but really that's only 2.5 playing months. He hasn't done much. So I think it's just probably his age catching up to him at this point.
He's on the wrong side of 40.
Yep.
And once you get to that point, it gets really tough to put together 4 rounds. And Howell's a guy I can safely say I'll probably never make another outright on him. No, he's been good. He's been a good player, and he's won his share of tournaments. But he's more of a finesse guy, and I think those guys can really. The last thing you lose is your punch. So some of the long hitters can keep on going a little bit longer. I think for Howell, it's going to be more difficult. It's not like he's in the Furyk class where he can negotiate his way around a course for 3 or 4 rounds. And even those guys, Stricker, Furyk, they're still great players, but 4 rounds, it's really tough once you get to that age.
Vijay Singh played all 4 rounds this past week. I wouldn't have bet that. I can tell you that. That was impressive.
Who?
Vijay Singh.
Oh, Vijay's amazing. And Vijay's had a lot of good 1 rounds. One or 2 rounds, but he can't play 4 anymore.
He was there all 4 on the Memorial. I was surprised. I did not see that coming. I'll tell you that.
Vijay. Let's see, and we'll kind of end with something like this. I just love betting on Keegan Bradley on Thursday and betting against him when he makes it to the weekend. Are there any guys that you take any daily bets where you say, I know he's going to be good or bad on the first round. I know he's going to be good or terrible on the weekend. Dave?
Yeah. I'm serious. I mean, Finau, Fowler, Paul Casey, these are guys, Oosthuizen's another one. These are guys who, on Sunday, you don't want to be on them.
Yeah.
They're not good Sunday players. Especially if they're contending. They can go bad, real bad. I don't know why. They need sports psychologists or something because these are melt candidates.
Nick, any dailies that you like?
Well, Finau is exactly that guy for me. I played him first round leader, 66-1 this past week, and it was a great payday. So he's that kind of a person. I like the first. I know Dave doesn't play the first round leaders. I like the first round leader bets because you get good value on guys that are all you need is one good round of them. Anything can happen to 18 holes. Anybody can find it.
Didn't you have Did you have Steele last week? And I mean, he was at an enormous first round price, and he was right there on the leaderboard. He got caught, but he had a great first round.
Yeah, he did. Last 3 weeks have been great. I had Finau last week, first round. Then we both had Morikawa outright the week before. And then I had Kisner first round the week before that. So I've had 3 straight huge long shots come through for me. So
nice.
Well, that's
a tough one. I don't know if I'm going to make it 4 in a row. This is a tough field, but we'll hope for the best.
That's a good lead-in to what we have available at Wager Talk.
Real quick, Dave, I got to jump in. Talisman on YouTube says, Dave, your cap just moved 2 dimples to the left. You're assessed a penalty. Give us a pick.
Yeah. Well, I got 4 outrights this week. I didn't want to play any more than that. And I'll give you one of them here. If you want to get the package, all 4 are up $19 at Wager Talk. We're up 49%. It's 49.8%, I think, since the return of golf. That's a net profit. It was all on one guy, but that's
counts.
all you need. One of the 4 guys I took this week is Doc Redman. He would be, I think, the cheapest price out of the 4. All 4 guys I took better than 40-1. So I am eschewing the favorites this week and going for price, and Doc Redman's one of the guys that I think has a chance to win this weekend. And I want to do a first round. He's come out of the gate pretty well in the tournament so far, so that might be a guy to take a peek at in a first round bet. The only thing I post at Wager Talk is just the outrights. So, but rest assured, I'll also be throwing some money on these guys in their matchups because obviously I think they're going to play well. So you can do the same, but you don't have to pay for extra picks that way.
Nick, give us your thoughts on what your package is going to look like this week on Wager Talk.
I'll probably be normally I always have both head-to-head matchups, and then I put together in the same package a list of all my round one, my outrights, and my leaderboard bets, all part of the same package. But for the free pick I was going to give out this week is ruined because somebody just said Brendan Todd just withdrew. I had Doc Redman over Brendan Todd. So a quick adjustment on a head-to-head matchup I like. I'm actually going to go with Fleetwood, who we don't know a lot about, but he's just got such good game over Finau. Listen, I know if we don't have the information on Fleetwood right now, but he's just got to be one guy. And I think Finau is going to come down this week. I think he's going to fall back a little bit after a long grind over the weekend. He had the tournament in his sight, so I think he's going to be set for a letdown this week. So I like Fleetwood. He's short favorite, -115 over Finau right now. So I like that.
All right,
matchup.
I've got 3 head-to-heads. I posted them this morning. 3 of them just jumped right off the page to me. So I've got those up. So Dave's picks are on Wager Talk. Nick's picks are on Wager Talk. My picks, I'm Andy Lang, are on Wager Talk. Dave, tell us what you got coming up because you're getting ready to get real busy, aren't you?
Yeah, well, we're still doing KBO, and I've got a little winning streak going there. I won the last 3. It's not, anything to go crazy about, but it's better than losing 3 in a row. At Major League Baseball, we're doing first pitch starting. I don't know whether it's starting tomorrow or Thursday, to be honest with you, but we're going to do first pitch. We'll feature probably 3 games each day that we'll really go in depth on. We'll do 1-minute capsules on all the rest of the games, and we're also going to do daily fantasy stud and sleeper because a lot of people play daily fantasy sports, so we'll try and offer some advice as far as that goes. It'll be a live show just like this one every day, and I don't have the time handy, but if you follow Wager Talk on Twitter at Wager Talk, all the times
Nice.
we'll be there.
Nick, what do you got going on? You're busy as well.
Yeah, soccer is still going strong. We got a lot of the major leagues ending their seasons over the next 2 weeks. MLS will, though, be continuing, and the Champions League picks up through the month of August before the major leagues jump right back into September. So soccer is one of those sports, 365 days a year, 1 or 10 leagues are always going on. So that's nonstop for me, and things are going well right now.
I will be on the NASCAR show tomorrow. We've been crushing NASCAR. It's amazing. Just from the 3 of us, we've got baseball, soccer, golf, NASCAR. We got a lot going on, and
and the NHL.
That's starting up. Yeah, yesterday I hosted the NBA show. NBA starts next week, so just a ton of stuff.
That one I don't
no, but I hosted it.
I don't like the NBA particularly. I've never been any good at it, so I don't do the NBA at all. So I'll leave that to you guys.
Yeah, I hosted it with Ski, Tony, and Rob. Those guys are awesome, and they'll be starting up.
Oh, Ski is really good.
Yeah, he's great. It's funny because I officiate basketball and he played AAU. So I feel like we could do an entire show just referee versus player. So all right, we're about 3 minutes late. Everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for your comments. Keep them coming. This is just the best time to pick our brains and get some stats or opinions. Nick, thank you. Dave, thank you. Good luck with all the sports, and good luck everyone out there. Hope everyone makes a lot of money, and we'll see you guys next week after a profitable weekend. Take care.